Welcome or welcome back. I will be showing you guys my 20 fall book recommendations. I originally wanted to film my August wrap-up and September TBR, but I only ended up reading 5 books in August and I have no clue what I'm reading for September. We had a change of plans, and so I will be showing you my fall recommendations instead of a wrap-up and TBR video. But I'm so excited. I have a bunch of books in front of me that you can't see, and I will be going through them by genre, starting with my mystery thrillers, then going on to historical fiction, then my dystopian series that I really want to recommend to you guys. And I'm very excited because I love all of these books in front of me, and most of these are 5-star reads. My comfort zone in reading is like mostly romance. I love literary fiction, I love dystopian, but other than that I don't read much out of my comfort zone. During fall, I like to branch out and I read a lot more historical fiction, mysteries, thrillers. I'm so excited to be sharing these with you. Starting out with an iconic series, The Inheritance Games. I only own the first 2 books, The Inheritance Games and The Hawthorne Legacy. First of all, I love these covers. These are kind of a mystery, literary fiction, romance. It's very genre bending, which I love. And it's YA, very fast-paced, short chapters. I fell in love with this world and all the characters in it. There's a 3rd one in the trilogy, The Final Gambit, and then she has a spin-off series for just the brothers, which I'm working my way through. I've read the brothers Hawthorne, I believe, and then I have the other 2 on hold at the library, but I love this series. Next up is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This is a YA thriller murder mystery, and I read this very early on in my reading journey and I still think about it. I think it's so fun, and I rated it a 4.5 at the time that I read it. I really do love this and the whole series. I just only have this one with me, so highly recommend this one. The next 2 are by the same author, The Silent Patient and The Maidens. These are interconnected standalones, so they are not technically in a series, but they are kind of connected. We have different characters that you see in both of them, and I gave this one a 4.5. I still think about it. It's the craziest plot twist I've ever seen. I've recommended it to many people and they love this one. And The Maidens, I rated it like a 3.5. I didn't love it as much, but it's still really good. I love the twist. I love the writing style. Even though it's 3rd person, I think it's really beautiful and lyrical. This one's in 1st person point of view, which I think is why I enjoyed it more, but also just the twist in this and how it's written is just so beautiful, and it's very creepy, which I love in a thriller. The next book is also a thriller. It is probably my favorite of all time. This is Verity by Colleen Hoover. It's also technically a romance, but not really. I picked it up without knowing what it's about, and the ending, if you've read this book, you know. This is the craziest ending to a book I have ever read. I will forever recommend. It is so insane, and I just love it. And it's so creepy. It's probably one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. Next, we are moving on to historical fiction, and I wanted to show you these 2 books, The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns. These are by the same author, and I read this one first, I believe, and then this one, but they are both set in Afghanistan during the war, and it's historical fiction. It is so heartbreaking to read these 2, but they are so good, and they are so well written. Just the way he writes and manipulates words into sentences makes you feel something that most books don't. And I don't know how to express it. It's just, oh, these 2 are so good. And though they are fiction, they really do show how life in Afghanistan during the war would be like. This one's in a woman's point of view and this one's in a guy's, and so you really get to see and like live it out. And I feel so much for these characters, even though of course I haven't experienced these things, but I just feel so deeply for these characters and what they went through. So these are great fall reads. Very sad though, so if you're not into sad books, do not pick these up, but I highly recommend. Next, I want to show you some Kristin Hannah books. She is actually one of my favorite authors, and I don't talk about her at all on my channel, but I wanted to share these 2 books with you. The Great Alone and The Four Winds. These are both historical fiction and both beautiful stories. I think this one's set in the Midwest during a war, and then this one is when they moved to Alaska, and that's why it's called The Great Alone. I just really love her storytelling. I love that the characters feel real and raw and just so imperfectly human. I really have not found another author that portrays the human life as she does. It is so beautiful, and these covers, she has the best covers. Like, look at these. They're so gorgeous, and it has nothing to do with how good the books are, but these are so good. I highly recommend all of her books. I have only read 4, which is kind of a lot for me. I usually only read like 1 or 2 books from an author, but I have 4 of her books that I own, and I don't normally own books either. So, Kristin Hannah, all of her books, but these 2 especially for fall. The next one that I want to show you is not historical fiction, but I don't know what else to like put it in. This is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, and this follows a young lady, obviously. She's not much younger than I am. She's around my age, and she really shows us what it's like to live in her city. I think it's New York. I'm not quite sure. But as like a young black woman, and she deals with a lot of grief. She deals with a lot of anger with what's happening in her city to her people. She sees one of her best friends die, and so lots of trigger warnings for this one, but this is so good. And I know a lot of schools make you read this one, and I'm lucky enough to like not be forced to read it, but as a choice. I love this one. It's very heartbreaking. It's hard to read because it's so emotionally heavy, and the topics are a little harsh, but it is so beautiful, and everyone needs to read this. The next series, I know many of you have already read, including myself, but I was late to it. I will admit, I did not read it in middle school like most people did. I read it about a year ago, and it is the Hunger Games series. You guys know and love this series, most of you. Anyways, if you are an avid reader like me, you know this series is just iconic. I can't hold all of them. They're very heavy. But yeah, I don't need to explain. Just go read these. You have to. It's very fall-esque, honestly. You have to read these. And I'm very grateful to own 4 hardcover books. I thrifted them all, so that's why I have all of them. If not, that would be very, very sad for my wallet, if you will. The next series I have seen around, but I don't see anyone talking about it, and it is the Legend series. I love this series. I have all 4 books, again, all thrifted, so it's very hard to hold all of these. But this is the brothers book, so this is the original trilogy, which I absolutely love, and I've yet to read this one. This series is a dystopian series. It's very much like The Hunger Games, Divergent, if you like that kind of thing, Maze Runner. I know like they're very much in the same genre, but this one is not talked about enough, and I love June and Day, and honestly fell in love. Like, I even have this tabbed up, which is rare for me, but I really do love this series, and I wish more people read it and talk about it. And I really want to reread it actually, because it reminds me of my favorite series, Divergent, which I would recommend, but I don't have the physical books with me right now. Last but not least, I have Fourth Wing. It does not have the dust cover on it, but I love the hardcover regardless. I wish there was like a golden dragon. That would really, really fit with this. Sorry, I had it upside down. But yeah, Fourth Wing is a high-stakes fantasy romance, and that went really viral last year, which it should. I don't love it as much as, like, Divergent and Powerless are my all-time favorite books, and so this is still a 5-star, but it's not like my 6-star reads, you know? I highly recommend. It is what got me really into fantasy, because it has dragons and crazy names that I could not pronounce, and I did not know if I would like that, and I ended up loving it. I've listened to the audiobook twice through, almost. I'm on my 2nd time listening to it, but this book is genuinely so good. I've heard the 2nd book is not as good, so I'm very nervous to read that, so I'm waiting for the 3rd book to come out before I read the second, just so that I can have some closure, hopefully. But there we have it, my 20 fall book recommendations. And I have a whole bunch of books just like around me. I wish you could see it. Anyways, comment down below a book that you really want to read this fall, maybe a book that I should be reading, and if you've read any of these books, give your opinions down below. Now, see you in the next one. This is the aftermath of filming a video where you recommend 20 books. Let me just show you. Yeah. So I had a little bit of a change of plan. I had a little change in my plans. That's not how I want to word it. Let me try. Okay. And we will... And